Welcome to SoulShine. In this episode, the words you speak become the house you live in.
Okay. Before we dive in, before we say anything else today, I want to ask you and everyone listening to picture something.
And not metaphorically. I mean, literally.
Picture a house. The walls, the windows,
The front door. The way it feels when you walk inside.
What's the light like?
That's a good question. Because every house has an energy. You feel it before anybody says a word. Sometimes you walk into a space and immediately feel calm. Sometimes you walk in and feel tension. Nobody has to explain it. You just know.
Exactly.
Is it bright?
Is it peaceful? Is it warm?
Or is it quiet, but somehow heavy?
Who? And some people listening already know the answer. Because they've been living in that house for years.
Right.
Now here's the twist.
Imagine that house wasn't built from brick.
Imagine it was built from your words. The words you repeat. The sentences you default to. The phrases you casually throw around without even realizing it.
Because today, we're talking about this.
The words you speak become the house you live in.
And that's not just poetic.
It's psychological. It's relational.
It's spiritual.
It's neurological.
Yeah, and I really need people to sit with that. Because this isn't just a cute quote. This isn't one of those things you screenshot and keep scrolling. This is architecture. This is foundation. This is construction work. And the truth is, some of us have been living in houses built from sentences we didn't even consciously choose.
That part. We inherited some of these blueprints. From childhood, from old relationships, from family dynamics, from teachers, from heartbreak, from survival seasons,
From moments when we were just trying to make sense of life.
And we never stop to ask the most important question.
Do I still want to live here? Or am I living in a house that no longer fits who I've become?
Let's start inside. Let's start with the room most people spend the most time in. Their own mind. What are the sentences you say about yourself when nobody else is listening?
Ooh, that's different. Because people are careful about what they say in public.
Exactly. But what do you say when it's just you? I'm bad at relationships. I always mess things up. I'm too much. I'm not enough.
And here's what's scary. Most people don't even realize they're saying it anymore. Those sentences become background music.
Yes, you say them enough times and your brain starts decorating around them. It puts curtains up. It rearranges furniture. It reinforces the structure.
And psychology backs this up. Carol Dweck talks about fixed mindset versus growth mindset. If your language is fixed, I am this, I am that, you stop evolving. You stop looking for different outcomes. You've already decided who you are.
It's like building a house and then locking every door from the inside.
Whew, yes.
But if your language shifts even slightly, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm figuring this out. Now your brain allows expansion. Now there's a window. Now fresh air comes in.
Can I ask you something?
Always.
Have you ever realized you were living inside a sentence that wasn't even yours?
Ooh, yes. And that's the scary part. Because some beliefs don't arrive as beliefs. They arrive as facts. You don't question them. You inherit them.
Exactly. And by the time you question them, you've already built a whole room around them.
A whole room. Sometimes a whole wing of the house.
And here's the convicting part. Some of us have been living in houses built from survival sentences. Sentences we created when we were younger. I can't trust anyone. I have to do everything myself. If I don't overgive, I'll lose people.
And listen, those walls were built for a reason.
We're not judging them.
Not at all. Those walls protected you once.
But we're not in that season anymore. And some of us never renovated. We just kept reinforcing the walls.
We kept adding furniture to a house that's now too small for us.
And then we wonder why we feel trapped, why we feel stuck, why we feel unstable.
Because growth is trying to happen inside a structure that was built for survival. And eventually, something has to change. Either the house expands, or you spend your life shrinking.
Okay, let's step into the next room. Relationships. Because the words we use there, those words build the emotional climate.
And climate matters. Because people think relationships fall apart because of one big moment. Sometimes it's not one big moment. Sometimes it's years of language.
You always, you never, that's just how you are. Those are structural beams.
And here's what's wild. People say those things casually, like they're observations, but they're actually construction materials.
Whew, construction materials. Say that again.
They're construction materials. Every sentence is either building connection or slowly eroding it.
And this is literally what John Gottman found in his research. Criticism, contempt, defensiveness, stonewalling. Those patterns predict breakdown.
Not because love disappears overnight, but because language corrodes the walls. And corrosion doesn't scream. It erodes quietly, slowly, one interaction at a time.
This is where we have to get honest. Sometimes we think we're just venting.
Ooh, let's sit there, because that's true.
Right? I'm just getting it off my chest.
Meanwhile, you've repeated the same complaint 20 times.
And now it's not a complaint anymore. It's an identity.
Exactly. If you constantly describe your partner as difficult, you start relating to them that way.
And if you constantly say, this never works, you unconsciously stop trying in healthy ways because you're living inside the sentence.
Whew, that's subtle.
It's not dramatic.
It's quiet conditioning. Okay. Let's leave the relationship room for a second, because there's another room in this house that doesn't get talked about enough. The future. The words you speak about what's possible for you.
Now we're getting into ceilings.
Exactly. And most people don't realize they've installed them. They say things like, I'll never have that. People like me don't get opportunities like that. That's not realistic. That would never happen for me.
And what's crazy is those statements sound harmless. They sound practical, responsible, even realistic.
But every one of those sentences becomes a ceiling, and ceilings matter.
They do. Because once you decide what's impossible, your mind stops looking for doors.
Say that again.
Once you decide what's impossible, your mind stops looking for doors.
That right there, because your brain is always collecting evidence. Always.
And this is where the manifesting conversation overlaps a little. Not because we're talking magic. We're talking attention. We're talking pattern reinforcement.
Exactly. If your internal sentence is, nothing ever works out for me, guess what your brain notices?
Every single thing that confirms it.
You'll scroll past 10 wins and highlight one loss.
You'll overlook every opportunity and focus on every obstacle.
You'll ignore evidence that you're growing and collect evidence that you're failing.
Whew, that's heavy.
Because eventually, you start living inside confirmation bias and then call it fate.
And fate was just repetition.
Sit with that one. Because sometimes the ceiling isn't reality. Sometimes it's language.
Can I ask you something?
Always.
Have you ever looked back at your life and realized something became possible only after you stopped saying it wasn't?
Oh, absolutely. And honestly, I think most people have. The relationship they never thought they'd survive. The dream they never thought they'd pursue. The boundary they never thought they'd set. The version of themselves they never thought they'd become.
Exactly. And notice something. The circumstance changed after the language changed.
Whew, now that's a room.
Okay, let's get softer for a minute, because this room is quiet.
The room nobody sees.
How do you talk to yourself when you mess up? Not when you succeed, not when things are going your way, when you fail, when you're embarrassed, when you fall short.
Ooh, that's the real question, because success doesn't reveal your inner voice. Mistakes do.
Exactly. When you make a mistake, what's the first thing your mind says?
Is it harsh, cold, impatient, critical?
Because that's the temperature of your house, and temperature matters.
You cannot grow in a hostile house. You can survive in it, but you can't expand.
Whew, you can survive in it, but you can't expand.
Some people have become experts at surviving themselves
And that's heartbreaking.
because they're carrying around an inner critic they would never tolerate from anyone else.
Let's sit there. Because if another person spoke to you the way some people speak to themselves, you'd call it emotional abuse.
Exactly, but because it's our own voice, we normalize it.
And this connects so beautifully to the 4 agreements, especially the first agreement, be impeccable with your word.
Which we're definitely doing an entire episode on. Because that book deserves its own room,
Its own house.
its own neighborhood.
But for now, being impeccable with your word doesn't mean perfect.
It means aware.
Aware that your words are structural.
Aware that your language creates environments.
Aware that every sentence is either supporting your growth or working against it.
And that awareness changes everything. Okay, so let's say somebody listening realizes, yeah, my house needs work. Now what?
First, don't panic. Every house needs maintenance.
And let's be clear, renovation isn't demolition.
Woo, that's important. Say it again.
Renovation isn't demolition. You don't have to destroy yourself. You don't have to become somebody new.
You're not throwing the whole house away, you're updating it.
Exactly. And the first step, notice the sentence.
Catch it.
Audit it.
Question it.
Where did it come from?
Is it true?
Is it helping?
Is it current?
Or is it 20 years old and still running the show?
Ooh, that's a question.
And then you begin replacing the beam. Instead of, I always ruin this. Maybe it's, I'm learning how to handle this differently.
That's not delusion. That's construction.
Instead of, they never show up for me. Maybe it's, I need consistency and I'm evaluating whether this provides it.
That's self-respect language.
That's a renovation with boundaries.
And little by little, the house starts feeling different. Not overnight, but noticeably. Let's pause here, because we've walked through a lot of rooms today. The self-talk room, the relationship room, the future room, the inner tone room.
And maybe somewhere in this conversation, you recognized your own house.
Maybe you recognized a room you haven't visited in a while. Maybe you noticed a crack you've been ignoring. Maybe you noticed a ceiling you didn't realize was there.
Or maybe you realized you've been carrying around a blueprint that no longer belongs to you.
That one. Because sometimes the most healing realization isn't, something is wrong with me. It's, some of these rooms were built for an older version of me.
And older versions of us deserve compassion.
Absolutely, because those versions were doing the best they could with what they knew.
But growth asks a question.
What's that?
Do I still want to live here?
Or am I ready to build differently?
And that's not a question anybody else can answer for you. Not your family, not your friends, not your partner, not social media, you.
So here's what we'd love for you to interflect on this week. What sentence have you been living in?
Not what sentence have you been saying. What sentence have you been living in?
Whew, there's a difference.
A big difference. Because eventually words stop being words. They become environments.
And if you're brave enough, ask yourself, what sentence am I ready to retire?
And what sentence deserves to take its place?
Drop it in the comments. We really want to hear from you. Not the polished answer, not the perfect answer, the real answer.
Because somebody listening might need to hear it too.
You know, the thing I keep coming back to is this. Most of us inherited the blueprint.
But we're responsible for the renovation.
Whew, that's the episode right there.
Honestly. Because you may not have chosen every belief. You may not have chosen every message. You may not have chosen every story you were handed.
But you do get to choose what stays.
You get to choose what gets repaired.
What gets expanded?
What gets torn down.
And what gets rebuilt?
Brick by brick.
Word by word.
Thought by thought.
Conversation by conversation.
Because the words you speak become the house you live in.
So speak carefully.
Speak kindly.
Intentionally.
And maybe most importantly, speak to yourself the way you'd speak to someone you're trying to help grow.
Because inner growth needs support.
And healing needs somewhere safe to live.
And at the end of the day, you have to come home to your own mind.
So make it a place you want to stay.
Until next time.
Keep shining.